You've probably seen the pictures, mass weddings with thousands of couples, all at once. Behind that is a multi-billion-dollar business empire and a founder who claimed he was the new Messiah. This is the incredible story of the Unification Church. Its journey from post-war Korea to the global stage is just packed with vision, wealth, and yes, a ton of controversy. So let's get into how it all started.
Right from the very beginning, this was the central question, the one that has followed them everywhere. Is this a genuine movement trying to bring world peace? Or is it something else? Something much more controlling? To even begin to understand the answer, we have to go back to the start, to the vision of one single man.
Okay, so it all begins with the founder, Sun Myung Moon, and a spiritual encounter he said would literally change the course of human history. Can you just imagine being 15 years old in 1935 and believing you've been handed this colossal task? According to the church's history, this happened on a mountaintop, and it was the spark for everything that followed. Moon was told that he was the one who had to succeed where Jesus had not and restore all of humanity to a state of sinless perfection. No pressure, right?
So this whole belief system comes from the church's holy book, The Divine Principle. And what it does is it basically reframes the entire Bible. The teaching goes like this. Adam and Eve's fall in the garden corrupted the human bloodline. Jesus was the second Adam, sent to fix it. But, and this is key, he was crucified before he could marry and have children, so he couldn't complete the mission. That meant a third Adam was needed to finally get the job done. And you guessed it, Moon claimed that he was that third Adam. And how exactly was this supposed to happen? Well, through these 3 steps, what they call God's 3 blessings. Now that second one, forming a true family, that is absolutely crucial. It's the whole theological reason for those famous mass weddings. The goal was to create a new, perfect, sinless lineage, all under the guidance of Moon and his wife. Look, a spiritual vision is one thing, but Sun Myung Moon was a pragmatist. He knew that to actually change the world, he needed a serious material foundation. And pretty soon, that vision would be backed by a massive economic powerhouse. The church's growth was just explosive. In 1960, Moon marries Hak Jahan, and they become the true parents of all humanity. Just 3 years later, the Tongil Group is founded to start building that financial empire. By the 70s, they're sending missionaries all over the world. Their staunch anti-communist stance even led them to found the Washington Times, a major conservative newspaper right in the heart of American politics. And this was no small operation. I mean, just look at how diverse these assets are under their conglomerate, the Tongil Group. We are talking about everything from ginseng and pharmaceuticals to heavy industry, a major ski resort that even hosted Olympic events, newspapers, a university, you name it. This economic engine is what fueled the church's expansion across the globe. But, as you can probably guess, when you expand that fast and build that much wealth, you attract a lot of attention. And with that attention came intense scrutiny and accusations that would follow the church for decades. This created 2 totally different realities. If you were on the inside, you saw yourself as part of this incredibly noble cause to save the world. But on the outside, especially in the West, you started hearing these stories from ex-members and worried parents, describing a manipulative cult that demanded absolute devotion and, of course, their money. And all that controversy really came to a head with this major legal battle. Moon's conviction for tax fraud was a massive blow to his public image. For critics, it was the smoking gun, proof of financial corruption. But for his followers, it was the exact opposite. They saw it as religious persecution, which only made their loyalty to him even stronger. They truly believed he was being targeted for his beliefs. You know, for a movement built entirely around one charismatic, all-powerful man, the biggest question was always just looming in the background. What happens when he's gone? Well, the answer turned out to be a messy, dramatic, and very public family power struggle. The year 2012, that was the pivotal moment. After ruling for decades with absolute authority, Sun Myung Moon died at the age of 92. And his death created this enormous void that his own family immediately started fighting to fill, splintering the global movement he'd spent his life building. So what happened next is crucial. The church didn't just get a new leader. It shattered into 3 main factions. Moon's wife, Hak Jahan, took over the mainstream church, but then she claimed that she was a co-equal Messiah. 2 of their sons completely rejected this. Hung Jin straight up accused his mother of heresy and started his own church. Meanwhile, another son, Hyunjin, positioned himself as the true heir to his father's global peace-building mission. It was a complete family breakdown. And these breakaway groups went in some truly wild directions. This quote is about Hung Jin Moon's group, the Rod of Iron Ministries. It's famous, or infamous, for incorporating AR-15s into its religious services. Yes, you heard that right. They believe the Rod of Iron mentioned in the Bible is a rifle. It's just a shocking symbol of how deep this family feud really goes.
So, with all that family drama, where does that leave the main church today? Well, it's now under the firm control of Moon's widow, and she has taken it in a completely new theological direction. This is, without a doubt, the single biggest change since Sun Myung-moon died. Hak Ja-han, who followers call True Mother, has basically elevated her own spiritual status to be equal to her husband's. She now claims to be God's only begotten daughter. This idea has become the new core belief for most members, but it's also the main reason her own sons called her a heretic and broke away. So looking ahead, the church is facing some enormous challenges. How do you keep the younger generations who were born into this engaged and believing? What on earth happens when Hak Ja-han, who's also getting older, passes away? Are we going to see another secession crisis? And can they ever shake that cult label, especially while the founder's own kids are publicly feuding with the main church? These are serious existential questions for them.
Which really brings us to the ultimate question. The Unification Church was built from the ground up on the charisma and the supposed divine authority of one man. Now that it's fractured and facing a really uncertain future, its biggest test is whether this massive global empire he created can actually outlive him.